Khush Choksy, the Senior Vice President for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, thank you very much for being here with Bloomberg.
Thank you for having us.
So here we are at the Saudi-U.S. CEO Forum in Riyadh. Tell me, what are the goals and objectives from your perspective?
The goals and objectives from our perspective, and we represent, the Chamber represents 3 million American businesses, and we have a very active, one of our lead programs is the U.S.-Saudi business program. And from our perspective, the 3 main objectives would be exposing more American companies to the reforms in the Vision 2030 program taking place in the kingdom, providing an opportunity and a platform through this forum for American companies and Saudi companies to consummate business deals, and thirdly, for the Saudi government to be able to demonstrate and explain what its inward investment plans into the United States are.
Well, let's talk about some of those business deals, because it seems like there are many. And whether it's touching on some major companies such as Lockheed Martin, GE, and they're working with infrastructure here, as well as with Saudi Aramco. What are some of the specifics that are going to come out of this forum and these business deals and President Trump's first visit?
I think that some of the specifics coming out of the business deals would be, and what we'd love to see very quickly, is the operationalization of those deals, where the MOU moves very quickly into
actually getting them
done, because what that ends up doing is it creates jobs here in the kingdom and also jobs back home in the United States.
That's important. So how does it create jobs in the United States? Because this is a president, as you know, who ran on the idea of really building and protecting U.S. jobs.
And I may add that I think that what you're seeing here is a sign of success of what has transpired between the United States and the U.S. government and the Trump administration in Saudi Arabia. How do these deals create jobs back home? Well, they do so in many ways. Certainly, for every investment and job created through a partnership here, there's goods and services procured in the U.S. Give you one example. About 2 weeks ago, we did a forum on how American small businesses can connect with Saudi Aramco and Saudi businesses in Houston on the sidelines of the big OTC oil and gas conference.
Right.
We had 130 small and medium enterprises from the western area of the United States registering to sell goods and services, a very broad range of goods and services, to Aramco and associated companies. That creates jobs in as much as some of that work may be done here, it creates jobs in the United States.
Right. And Khush, everywhere I've gone over the city, I see the pictures of King Salman and President Trump and the theme of Together We Prevail, and it's all over partnerships for generations. Of course, you've already mentioned the vision for 2030. How is Saudi Arabia going to look different in 2030?
I think it will.
And what role will the U.S. play in helping to craft that vision?
I think Saudi Arabia will look different in 2030 in a couple of different important respects. Firstly, it will have moved away from being largely dependent on oil and gas to a much more diversified economy. Diversified both in the petrochemical sector, up and downstream, but also in terms of being more diversified broadly. For example, for American businesses, we have a very active program in the health sector, both in terms of non-communicable diseases and in terms of policy advocacy in the more traditional biotechnology areas. Our companies needed certain reforms in the kingdom in order to be able to do research and development, which is where, the investment dollars are going in. So the kingdom will look more diverse as an economic entity, and I think that creates certainly much more opportunities for American companies. You see the financial services, for example, represented very broadly here today.
Just 2 more questions, just in terms of diversity, but also in terms of will there be a more diverse in 2030 in terms of human rights, in terms of including women in the economy? Will that also happen?
I think certainly let's talk about women in the economy. Yeah. I think you've already seen that happen. I'm just contrasting, the participation of women at this forum compared to forums 2 years ago.
Yeah.
There's a tremendous difference. I understand that the First Lady is visiting
Yes.
the GE facility tomorrow that trains women entrepreneurs and women. And you see that as another example. Throughout the Saudi government, in the terms of the partners that we engage with, we have seen women leaders emerge. I think that's a tremendous change from 2 years ago.
And just final question, there's been a lot of controversy back home in the political world, the President Trump's visit, internal investigations, Senate, Congressional House investigations. Has that impacted at all this forum?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so. Certainly, you have about 50 major American CEOs here. You have all of the deals being signed. And I do want to add, you asked how Saudi would be different. I would like to add that Saudi Arabia would be different in terms of the bilateral partnership, in terms of inward investment into the United States. That is something that is critically important to the U.S. Chamber. In fact, just 2 days ago, we had both the Vice President and Secretary Mnuchin speak at a direct investment summit at the Chamber, and I think that the Kingdom is increasingly looking to make inward investments into the Chamber. That is into the United States, that's a direct job creator.
Khush Choksy, the Senior Vice President for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Middle East Division. Thank you so much for talking to Bloomberg.
It's a pleasure being here.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.